Bienvenidos! Okay, welcome.
Bienvenidos a Mexico.
And welcome back to Girls Gone Spooky.
Yes.
Chicas. No. Fluent my ass.
I don't know how to say spooky.
Los Spookies.
Yeah, los spookies.
Los
Chicas
spookies.
spookies.
As promised, we are coming in hot with an episode live and in living color from Mexico.
Sí.
So we are going to talk about Day of the Dead, even though it's out of season now because it's in November. But there's some interesting history and some connections to some spooky legends. And we had an experience with some of the ofrendas and also just a memorial activity.
Celebration.
Yes, celebration. So take it away, Amy.
Okay. Well, Day of the Dead, I feel like many people know a little bit about it now. It's sort of like Halloween. It falls during the same time of year, but it's a day where it's believed that loved ones who have passed on are able to come back from the land of the dead back into the physical realm. And that's probably way oversimplifying the history of it, but that's the general idea. But in order to come back, families need to make these ofrendas, the altars, including the favorite foods, beverages, and things that their loved ones liked when they were living, in order for them to be able to make it back. And the foods, the meals that people eat together, you're meant to have food also for the deceased. It's not just consumed by the living. And, I mean, do you think there's anything to add to that? Because I think the main thing is, like, you hear Day of the Dead and it sounds kind of scary or spooky, but it's just so not.
No.
It's like such a beautiful celebration of death as part of life rather than something to fear.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think the only thing to add to that is like our experience of that, which is the opposite of something sad.
Yeah. So should we talk about that now? Okay. Well, so while we were here, just a few days ago, we came across what appeared to be just a bar that was having a fun party. Yeah. With music and people were dancing. There was a DJ. So we went in.
And it was open. I mean, it just looked like not an open bar, but a bar that was just on the street.
Yeah. And they had like 2-for-1 beer deals and everything. And it just felt like a normal thing.
Unsuspecting.
And then we ended up meeting some people there. And were later informed that that was actually like a funeral celebration for somebody who had passed the same day of the party. And he was actually the, I think, close friend and business partner of the DJ at that bar. So the DJ was kind of the host of the night. And yeah, I guess I would never have guessed that that was for somebody who had died. No.
And this was in a small town in Nayarit, very near to Sayulita and close-ish to Puerto Vallarta. And you just never, like, it was on a Monday. Like, it's a very sleepy town. And so we were kind of surprised to run into something so clubby and lively, but we're super excited. And there were like clearly other people like us who just stumbled into it thinking, oh, it's just a bar. Girls like celebrating someone's birthday, like on vacation. And I mean, but it was not at all like, get out of here. Like, this is our private celebration. Like, it wasn't like that at all. It was we were so welcomed. And like a few of the people we met, like we kept hanging out with after the party. And like, they like told us a little bit about, like, you know, informed us that it's a memorial service, basically. And later when we parted ways with the friends we met there, they were actually headed to down to the beach to, I think, light candles in honor of their loved one who had passed that day.
Yeah.
So that was also really sweet.
Yeah. We were invited to join for that even, which is just another show of how like the community comes together for these. It's not like a private mourning sort of thing. It's I don't know, celebrate that they enjoyed their life while they had it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really beautiful and so inclusive too. And then, so now we're in Sayulita, and there are a bunch of beaches here, some, you know, more trafficked than others, but one that's kind of small and I think busier than, at least than I expected it to be, just based on...
It used to be much less so.
Yeah.
But now that things have grown here, everything is a little bit busier.
Yeah. But it's called Playa de los Muertos. And I think the reason for that is the path to the beach is basically lined by cemeteries.
Yeah.
There's like a big, beautiful, like bright pink archway with like some of the typical designs you see for Dia de los Muertos, with like the skulls and flowers and things like that along the side, and a big sign that says Playa de los Muertos, or like path to Playa de los Muertos. And it's, you know, we both kind of got a little choked up on the second time we passed by, because we like slowed down to take a look through.
Yeah. I guess won't give many details, but this, you could see closest to the path there was kind of a smaller grave site, and there were balloons and like little toys and posters, and it was for a little infant baby who had died way too soon. But the inscription on the, I don't know what to call it.
It wasn't quite the tombstone, but it was like they're kind of surrounded by like a cement box, sort of. Yeah. And there was like a, not quite a plaque, like something that looked removable, but like a poster almost, a very nice poster that had like a photo of the infant, his birth date, the day that he died, and then the inscription.
Yeah, which said something along the lines of like saying goodbye is not forever, because it just means that I'll miss you until I get to see you again.
Yeah.
Which I could cry again just saying that aloud. But what a nice, hopeful way to feel when you're suffering such a loss.
Yeah. And I think he had lived for
23 days.
23 days, sounds right. Yeah, so I mean that's one of so many grave sites that were there, but they're all beautiful, all decorated with, you know, even like food and drinks and flowers and balloons and toys and, you know, just so much beautiful stuff. And I think as we were kind of walking away and towards the beach again, I think, I don't know, at least in my mind, there's a lot of faith, obviously, and it's primarily Christian, I'm sure, or Catholic specifically. But I think there is something so nice and like profound about the idea that, you know, Amy and I, for example, live far apart. And every time we leave each other, it's with the knowing that we'll see each other again without necessarily knowing when or where or how.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's like just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there. And I think not only is it like such a beautiful way to honor the deceased, but also it's a really good reminder to like cherish what you do have while it's here living in our realm. It's really sweet and not something scary. There are definitely some legends that I'll talk about in a moment, but for the most part, it's very sweet. And was it Coco?
The movie?
Yeah,
Coco.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the Disney movie Coco, that really simplifies it a lot, I think, and obviously makes it, you know, palatable for children. But
it's kind of a nice picture of what it is.
Yeah.
I remember that movie came out. So my grandpa passed away, and then it was about 3 months later that my grandma died.
Mm.
And that movie came out right after my grandma had passed. And I saw it in theaters. And I sobbed.
Yeah,
like
I'm sure.
It was the kind of where you can't catch your breath.
Yeah.
Because it was just so relatable at that time, but also
Yeah.
now that pain isn't so acute, that movie is just such a feel-good movie, and it's so pretty to watch.
It's so sweet. It's really well done. One like slight dig on Disney, not the movie, but I was looking on Reddit and they tried to trademark the term Dia de los Muertos.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Bitches. It's like, okay, only Disney would try to do that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Little monsters.
Seriously.
So just some other quick things. So I think like for any North Americans or anyone who isn't in the Latinx community, I mean, Halloween obviously is October 31st. All Saints Day is November 1st, which is focused specifically on deceased children, which I actually didn't know.
I didn't know.
And then All Souls Day, which is Dia de los Muertos, is the November 2nd. So this is when a lot of these celebrations occur. I think really it's really a year-round celebration. I know there are like big parades throughout a lot of Mexico and South America, as well as North America too. I mean, there are so many Latinx folks in the US as well, and Canada too. So I'm sure it's happening all over the world. But I thought that was just kind of interesting because I didn't know that about All Saints Day. So there's actually a guy who wrote an article on Forbes that I thought was kind of interesting, and who was just sort of talking about like their experience going through the Dia de los Muertos celebration. And so one of the quotes from the article: "At nightfall, my face painted in stark black and white, I joined a few others in a small boat. We floated on a cenote, or cave, where the symbol of death prowled around in another boat, candles lighting the water with the heat of faith and life, far more evocative and beautiful than any Halloween haunted house. The sound of lapping water in the darkness was truly eerie as the Katrina in our boat told her mournful tale of her lost children." So Katrina is Mexico's favorite, most adapted representation of death, according to this article. So the woman with the like skeleton or skull face paint, usually with like pretty designs, sometimes with flowers. She's sort of like the manifestation or personification of death in a lot of these celebrations. And so,
I was just going to say, there's a really iconic image of her that's a drawing that I think is actually her origin.
That's cool.
Katrina, because that's the name that the artist gave her.
Interesting. We'll have to post that on our Instagram.
As soon as you see it, you'll recognize it, because she has like, she's wearing flowers and the big hat, and it's very simple lines, like black and white, but
that's so cool.
Totally tell.
Yeah, we'll post that on our Instagram along with a photo of the Playa de los Muertos cemetery, because we got some pretty photos of that. A little more on La Catrina, just from a Day of the Dead site. So it's believed that the Aztecs worshipped a goddess of death that they alleged protected their departed loved ones, helping them into the next stages. The Mexican tradition of honoring and celebrating the dead is entrenched deeply in the culture of its people, as we know. So the skeleton with the hat, so this is what Amy is referring to, that we see today, came to life in the early 1900s by artist Jose Guadalupe Posada, who I guess was controversial and political cartoonist, who drew and etched skeletons or calaveras in a satirical way to remind people that they would all end up dead in the end, which I kind of love that. None of us get out alive. Right. And it's funny because we've been kind of shopping around a little bit today in some of the like little shops around the square in Sayulita. And there are these really cute little like kind of coaster looking things, or like trivets that have all of these skeletons posed in like funny day-to-day kind of poses. So like someone sitting on the couch with their cat,
or sitting on the toilet even.
Yes. Or
with their dog like sitting in front of them.
Or fishing or cooking or playing the guitar. So it's just, you can see how like his style, it sounds like Posada's style has really like
informed.
Yeah, a lot of other really kind of common art at this point.
Yeah. Definitely.
So one of the things that in this like tour that the Forbes author wrote about was that a lot of their Katrina and their boat had told them about some of the ancient stories that are part of the Day of the Dead. And two of them, one of them we haven't talked about before. One we have, La Llorona. And just as a reminder, she was the one whose, I think, origin was a little bit of a question mark, but essentially was like a wailing woman in white, whose her children were drowned in a river. I think the question is like, did she drown them for revenge on her husband who was cheating on her? And then she basically is coming back searching for children. If she gets her hands on your child, she drowns them usually, so that they're like, and they're just different versions of the story and everything. But the other one, I don't even know how to say this. Do you know how to say that?
No, I wish
Xtabay?
Probably.
It's Xtabay, but it's Xtabay, a Yucatec Mayan myth about a female demon who preys upon men in the Yucatan Peninsula. So she's said to dwell in the forest to lure men to their deaths with her incomparable beauty. She's described as having beautiful, shining black hair that falls down to her ankles and wears a white dress.
That's high maintenance hair.
That is long ass hair.
That's a high maintenance hairstyle.
Yeah, I hope she's not swimming in the ocean because that shit is
ratty.
Really ratty. So the term, which I still don't know how to say, Ixtab, was used to refer to an ancient Mayan goddess, Ixtab, Ixtab, who was the goddess of suicide by hanging or the gallows, which is dark. And so a lot of it comes back to like the Mayan language and roots from there. But she was actually seen as a benevolent goddess who acted as a psychopomp to whoever hung themselves, leading them to paradise, as suicide was considered an honorable way of dying, which that goes back to Mayan times. Obviously, in current day Christianity or Catholicism, not so much the case. So basically, there is a kind of long backstory, but it has to do with sisters, one who's treated very poorly for being promiscuous, the other who's considered to be very virtuous because she remains celibate, the one who is the town hussy. The town plans to exile her, but they allow her to stay in order to humiliate her, which is really not great. And she actually, despite being treated like absolute trash, was actually seemingly a really good person. She tended to the poor, the sick, to animals in need. Meanwhile, the beautiful celibate one that everyone revered was a cold-hearted bitch. She was very condescending and superior, and the town overlooked her cruelty. So,
pretty privileged.
So the promiscuous one dies, and the townspeople discover her body guarded by animals and surrounded by fragrant flowers. The homeless and the poor who she'd helped during her life held a funeral for her, and soon after, a mysterious sweet-smelling flower grew around her grave. So it's believed that she had metamorphosed. That's not what I would assume.
Metamorphosized.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Well,
she underwent metamorphosis and became a species of morning glory, called something I absolutely cannot pronounce, but it's Ixtabentun. Ixtabentun. It's a lax, clambering vine that sprawls through hedges, scenting the air with its festoons of delicate white trumpets.
What beautiful writing.
So beautiful. It's defenseless. It has no thorns, so it tends to seek shelter, and that's supposed to be kind of a symbol for this poor woman. So her rude sister believed that her own dead body would smell better than her sister's because she was so pure. However, her dead body had an unbearable smell. And the entire pueblo gathered for her funeral, of course, put flowers all around her grave that all disappeared the next day. She became the foul-smelling flower of Sacam cactus, something like that.
Yep.
And she prayed to evil spirits who fulfilled her desire to become a woman again so that she too might become a beautiful flower in death. But incapable of love and motivated only by jealousy and rage, she instead became the demon Ixtabe, outwardly a beautiful woman, but inwardly cruel and predatory of heart. So modern legend fits in pretty closely, at least visually, with La Llorona and a lot of other, women in white kind of themes. She wears a white dress, has large black eyes, long black hair down to her ankles, which she uses to attract men who are out late at night. I'm picturing her with like hair in a lasso.
Yeah.
Oh, God. She waits behind a sacred Mayan tree called a ceiba tree and is said to comb her hair with the spines of that smelly cactus. She lures men into the forest, making them lost and disoriented before having sex with them, which is like, wait, what? Because she was the celibate one.
Right.
But she's probably like making up for lost time, I guess.
Yeah, now that she's a demon.
Yeah, she's like
not holding back.
Yeah. She's like, I'm damned already. Let's
do
get
this.
it on. Once they have sex, she transforms into a poisonous serpent and devours them. There, of course, are more than one version. There's more than one version of the myth. She can appear in any form or gender she chooses in order to lure a person to their doom. So that, to me, kind of implies that she has some sense of like what you want. Like she can kind of read your mind in a way. She'll lie in wait to seduce her victim before throwing them over a cliff and finally ripping out their heart.
Seems like she should do that in reverse order.
Right.
Then she has to
go
down.
She probably just floats down, but
Can you imagine throwing them off and hiking down and then ripping
hiking. She like puts on hiking shoes. She creates hiking shoes out of her long ass hair, wraps them around her feet, and then fucking scrabbles down to rip out some hearts. Basically, the moral of the story is don't judge a book by its cover. Pretty privilege is real, and sometimes hot girls are bitches. Not us though.
Yep.
We're hot and great, and also spooky. Spookies. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting because it's like, just there is a kind of, it's not Halloween at all, but there is a kind of like spooky kind of undercurrent. There's a lot of legend that's associated because the whole thing is legend that, when you die, you go to the land of the dead, which has a name that I, of course, can't pronounce. Where was it? I saw it in here. Upon dying, a person was believed to travel to Chikuna Mixtlan, the land of the dead. Only after getting through 9 challenging levels, a journey of several years, could the person's soul finally reach Mictlan, which is, I guess, a shortened version for that.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I way oversimplified
No, you didn't.
Well, yeah, because I don't know the 9 challenging levels of getting in and out. I wonder what those are.
I don't know. This is Origins, though, so I don't know that people believe this anymore, but this is like Aztec and Mayan origins. Okay. So I think Day of the Dead now, it's like you die and there you are in the land of the dead with all of your loved ones and getting fed all your favorite snacks and bevies.
That sounds nice. I wonder how the marigolds became the flower.
I don't know.
Associated.
You'd think it would be like the flower from the sister, the nice sister,
the white smelling flower.
The trumpets.
Maybe we can do another.
Yeah, we can do a follow-up.
Yeah, when we've had more research.
Yeah,
time.
To be honest, we're flying by the seat of our tight pants. Our bathing suit bottoms.
Yes, exactly.
But we wanted to give you at least a quickie little episode that was themed around our Mexico trip.
Yeah.
So
I loved it.
Adios. Stay spooky, bitches.
Stay spooky.
Stay spooky, guys.
Spooky.
Spooky.
Gracias.
Gracias.